Hello everyone, welcome to the Mariinsky. My name is Yekaterina. I'm the presenter with the theatre.
Hi everyone, I'm Xander Parish, I'm a principal dancer here with the company.
Today we are going to spend the morning Mariinsky class with you and we hope you enjoy it.
Watch and enjoy, follow along.
Xander is going to provide his valuable commentary on what's going on stage.
I'll try and give you some insights at least to what's happening and what we do every day in class, and hopefully it'll be interesting.
Get your notebooks ready.
Здравствуйте, дорогие зрители! Меня зовут Яна Селина, я солистка и педагог-репетитор Мариинского театра. Мы рады приветствовать вас на традиционном утреннем классе Мариинского балета. В честь Всемирного дня балета мы проводим этот класс на знаменитой исторической сцене Мариинского театра и приглашаем вас понаблюдать за нами, а возможно и присоединиться. Пожалуйста, начнем. Разогрев к палке лицом. Полупальчик, пальчик, полупальчик закрыли. 2 тандю, пассе партер, демиронт. Нажим закрыли и 3 тандю в сторону плие. Также назад. Полупальчик, пальчик, полупальчик закрыли. 2 тандю, демиронт до стороны. Нажим закрыли и 3 тандю. С левой ноги все то же самое. Вперед-назад. Открыли на вторую, пурдебра в сторону, погнулись к ноге. И в другую, в сторону и к ноге. Пожалуйста. Геннадий, пожалуйста.
Okay, so Xander, how often do you get to have a class on the Mariinsky stage?
Well, the class on stage is always actually a privilege because we do our shows on stage, of course, but we very rarely do class on the stage itself, especially the historical stage. So whenever we do, it's nice to actually try the stage just as, without having to do any solos or anything particularly stressful. Class is just...
So we can see that the class is mixed, yeah? They're both men and women. Is it also a regular thing?
No, not usually. That was just created for this specifically. Usually we have separate classes.
And are there only soloists?
Because the company is so enormous, maybe you know more than I do, maybe there's around 240 dancers in the company, I think. And so we need a lot of classes to cater for all the dancers. So we have at least 4 classes per day. Even that's not really enough to handle all the dancers. But yeah, usually we have 2 soloist classes and 2 quarter ballet classes, and then split between men and women, so it'll be 1 of each for male soloists, female soloists, male quarter ballet, female quarter ballet.
Okay, great. So we see the very beginning of a class. Is the class always the same?
It has the same structure. So every day we begin with our warm-up, facing the bar usually, depending on the teacher's recommendation or desire. And it's good just to center yourself. Usually, obviously, you've been in the studio already, warming yourself up and getting yourself prepared for the morning. But the aim of the class is to prepare your body for the rehearsals ahead. So we start pretty gently, just to let the muscles wake up. It's the morning usually. Often you've had a show the night before, so you can wake up feeling ouch. Occasionally, if it's a heavy show the night before, the day after can be a little bit heavy, so you want to do a gentle class to prepare yourself for the coming rehearsals. Basically, that's the idea.
Плие. Пожалуйста, препарасьон отдельно. Деми-плие с одним полупальчиком, руку закрываем, со вторым полупальчиком руку открываем. Гран-плие, пор-де-бра вниз. Полупальчики постояли, открыли на вторую. Закрыли руку, открыли руку. Гран-плие. Перегнулись назад, полупальчики. 4-ю провели. То же самое. Парам-пам-пам. Гран-плие. Пам-пам. Только здесь мы руку в 4-й арабеск наверх Полупальчики закрыли в пятую. Полупальчик один, полупальчик второй, гран-плие. Левой рукой повернули корпус и постояли на полупальчиках. И отдельно пор-де-бра. Третья вниз, назад и в сторону, в сторону. Угу. Пожалуйста. Ручку открыли. С одним полупальчиком закрываем руку.
So, are you allowed to skip a class if you feel too sore in the morning?
In theory, we're not allowed to. At the Mariinsky, rules are quite strict. Every morning during ballet class, we have a lady come around with a clipboard and paper, and she ticks off the list who's in class. And
do you get detention if you skip a class?
No, but if you miss more than they deem appropriate, then you'll have some problems, and that's usually worth avoiding. Yeah, I mean, in the West that doesn't happen. Well, as far as my experience goes from the Royal Ballet, the ballet class was always at the discretion of the artist. So this, you know, if you've had a heavy time recently, or if you've got a lot of shows or a lot of work coming up and you want to do your own warm-up or your own gentle exercises, that was perfectly acceptable. And a lot of dancers I know do that in the West, but in the Mariinsky Ballet Class is a sacred thing, and that's understandable and to be respected. But it's hard to compare the West and Russia, of course, because they're very, very different in their approaches.
But if we start comparing, so what is the difference, like the most striking difference that you noticed, like between the Western class and here at the Mariinsky?
Well, actually, class is a very international thing. There's ballet classes has the same structure, the same exercises, the same ideas and concepts wherever you are in the world. And that makes it very accessible for dancers all over the place, which is very convenient, so that when we, as artists, go and guest with other companies or end up somewhere else, you know, ballet class is always pretty much the same. You know what you're going to be getting, which is very convenient. But of course, every company has its own style or slight difference in style usually and approach to class. But there aren't huge differences, to be honest. It's all pretty much the same. Some companies like faster footwork, some like slower adagios. You know, I watch some companies and think, oh wow, that's a difficult class. But generally, it's similar structure wherever you go, which is convenient.
Could you say a few words about the structure?
Yes, of course.
And well, after Yana is done explaining.
Пяточки выворотные, выворотные. Давайте сделаем с левой ноги по одному гран-плие с пор-де-бра. Гран-плие, парам-папам, вниз, да? Второе к палке, четвертую от палки и пятое назад погнемся.
So here, Yana is telling the dancers to do the same exercise to the other side, but making it a bit shorter. She's cut out a few of the steps to make it a bit quicker. So now we're going straight to full plie. Usually you start with demi-plie, but here she's beginning with the full plie for the second side. So the structure of ballet class is structured in three parts. Bar work, center practice, and allegro, which are the jumps. So here we're doing the bar work, and the bar, actually every section of class is divided into different exercises targeting different muscle groups, different types of needs of the body, from balance to whatever's needed for all the ballet poses and positions to get warm and ready for the day.
От палки. Спасибо, Геннадий. Тандю, батман. И раз, и два. Два, тандю вперед. Через четвертую перешли. По одному. Крестом в плие. В сторону тандю перенесли через кудепье, тандю перенесли, тандю девелюпе в сторону, в плие, ручку закрываем. И 2 тандю, перешли, закрыли по одному крестом.
What is Masha doing with her hands?
Masha is repeating the exercise by watching to help herself to remember the combination.
Does it help?
It does actually, I do it myself a lot. We use our hands to mimic our feet just to remember the exercise. Because every day, here in the Mariinsky, we get given a new class every day. So we don't repeat the classes. It's a brand new class. Every day the teacher just creates, just like that,
Wow, that's
new
incredible.
exercises. And so, yes, it is incredible, but it means you don't know what's about to happen, apart from the general structure. So you have to remember exactly what they've just said. It makes your short-term memory very accurate.
But this is striking how you remember this. You know, she showed you once,
Yeah.
and now everybody's absolutely accurate in repeating whatever she just said.
Yeah.
How come is that?
Well, it's practice. We're used to it. You know, it's like training, I guess, circus animals. I don't know, say we're circus animals, that sounds ridiculous. But you know what I mean? We do it every day. We're trained to do this. We're trained to remember exactly what the teacher tells you and to repeat it.
It's amazing. You're like superheroes. Is it the same with dancing, with the actual dance, with all the positions in a dance? Because I remember we shot a video a year ago when Victoria was preparing to dance a Bayadere,
Right.
and she hadn't danced this role for a year, and then she said like, okay, this is it. So basically she remembered, after a year, she still remembered all the steps. How come is that?
Well, when it comes to doing I'll continue in a second.
A small pause. What is jeté?
Jeté is same as tonji, just off the ground. So you can see Yana's demonstrating a jeté right now.
Перенесли. И назад 3. Кудепье перенесли. И продолжаем вперед, назад, в сторону, вперед. Ручку закроем, чтобы обратно с рукой. И раз, и два, и три.
The idea is to throw your leg just
два,
off the ground, about 25 degrees
и раз,
off the floor, to give it a bit more
и продолжаем.
impetus than the tonju that's just preceded the exercise.
Кудепье перенесли.
So it's a building up,
Назад.
a continuation of the
You're gaining
of the
momentum.
movement. You're gaining momentum, exactly. So plie was all about bending the legs, tonju is about using your feet through the floor, and jeté is the same thing, just a bit more impetus and off the floor. So it builds up step by step, and eventually you find yourself getting warm and getting ready. Which is
Right,
the
ready
idea
to
of
jump,
class.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, steps.
So yes, steps. My correction. A little bit higher. Coup de pied. Sorry, what was the question again?
We were talking about steps, how you remember the steps for
exactly.
roles and parts. You have so many.
Yes, but that's why we rehearse so much. So when it comes to a particular ballet, the choreography's been set since its inception, say, you know, Swan Lake at the turn of last century or whatever, or its revision by Konstantin Sergeyev. So, because we repeat it so much, it's ingrained in the body, and you remember it because it's exactly the same every time.
How did you get them confused?
You know, it's really hard to confuse the actual ballets because the music tells you what to do. That sounds really silly, but it's really true. Once the music is inside your head, and you've learnt particular steps with that music, they just go together. It's hard to explain, but basically it feels like it happens by itself. It becomes automatic in a way. You hear the music, and the step is automatic because it's attached to in your head. It's attached to that music.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, something like
Magic, ballet magic.
that. True.
Давайте еще на 3/4 можно нам jeté? Рам-парам-пам-пам-пам-пам. Раз,
Is Yana telling the pianist what to play?
Yes.
три. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. И 7 балансор. Пам-рам-пам. И по первой рам.
Continuing with the footwork, right?
Yes. A little bit more impetus now. So you can see it's a bit faster than the previous jeté exercise. A bit faster, a bit more precise, and it's a little more complicated.
По одному пике. Просто подряд. 6 балансор и 7 по первой. И обратно.
Would you say that every teacher has a style in class?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely right. Every teacher has their own favourite exercises, their own favourite tempos, their own favourite way of showing and demonstrating. And that's often to do with their own personalities. Every coach in our theatre has their own personality, and that comes through very clearly in the exercises. It's quite interesting actually how it shines through. It's a good thing because it gives us a variety as well.
Yana looks very strict.
Yana's lovely. I've danced with her many times myself. She's a wonderful person, always sunny and friendly, which is great.
I think that Yana has the most incredible smile in the company.
Yeah, she's a lovely, lovely person. And I think her class is really well thought through, and obviously she's put a lot of thought into the exercises and combinations to make it interesting for the dancers. You know, so often it's quite hard in the morning when it's a hard combination because you're still half asleep, and so you got to remember the steps. But no, it's nice to do a fun class.
Almost done, she said.
Not quite.
Almost got it.
Ронда, гран-ронд на 90. Андедан. 2 ронда, гран-ронд, андедан. И 2 ронда 3/8 в плие, на полу ронд и еще 1 гран-ронд. 2 гран-ронд. Андеор 2 гран-ронд. Обратно 2, 3 в плие, на полу и еще гранд-ронд. Оставили вперед. К ноге погнулись, от ноги погнулись. К палке перейдем аккуратно от палки. Вернемся к палке, растянемся, погнемся назад и постоим в этюд. 2 ронда наверх, 2 обратно наверх, 2 3/8 в плие,
You already lost me.
и еще гранд-ронд.
God.
You know, what's interesting is often we're like a shoal of fish sometimes, whereby, you know, you get distracted when they're teaching the exercise, you miss a few things, you don't quite pick up what the combination is, but then, you know, you're all in the group and you can follow the person in front of you in the class, and if they picked it up, well, you figure out what to do, and you all sort of watch each other. It's funny watching ballet class because you'll see everyone's eyes watching each other to make sure they're doing the right thing, and by group consensus we managed to get the right combination somehow.
Who's the most diligent student in the class?
Oh goodness, that's impossible to say. Everyone who's managed to get to this far in their careers is already very, very diligent. To be a ballet dancer without diligence is basically impossible.
Who's the most, no, that doesn't sound right. Who is the student who never missed a class at the Mariinsky?
No idea. I've absolutely no idea. You'd have to ask the regisseur.
What about you? Are you accurate? Like, do you come to class? Like, do you show up every
Me
time
personally,
you have to?
I listen to my body and do what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to do class, I do class. If I need to rest something for some reason, then I will rest it. You got to take care of your body and make sure you listen to its needs.
So after the class, you all go to rehearsals.
Yes.
Do you have a lunch break?
There's no structure to our day at the Mariinsky. It's a unique company in the world in that respect, that our schedule is rather unpredictable and set usually the night before the day you're doing. So we don't know our schedule until the evening of the day before, which makes planning things rather tricky. But that's the way it is here. And lunch break is whenever you can leave the studio and go and get some food.
Do you have breakfast before class?
I do, yes. Always. Yeah.
Because some people claim that it doesn't let them exercise well.
Oh, really? I have done class on an empty stomach, and sometimes that's actually good, but I usually like to have some food because you can't guarantee that after class you're going to have time to eat before the rehearsal starts, so it's best to have something simple. I have porridge usually, something with banana and some nuts, something to give you some protein and some carbs before.
Some energy.
Yeah, some energy before starting all the rehearsals.
Целый ронд на всю музыку.
Okay.
Тоже так делаешь.
Yana mentioned na всю музыку, meaning to the whole music.
Use the whole music, yeah.
What does it mean, use the whole music?
I think she means that the phrasing here is quite elongated, and she wants you to use the fullness of all the phrase. So don't finish the particular step you're doing before the music allows you to. You should indulge the whole phrase of the music by. I mean, right now this is it's we're doing port de bras during rond de jambe, which is an adagio style elongated exercise, and the idea is to fill the whole phrase of the music with movement, so you don't make it staccato somehow. It wouldn't fit the music. It has to be appropriate. What you're showing has to be appropriate to what the music's telling you to do.
And we can see the phrasing is different for every dancer here, yeah? Some people do it longer.
Yeah, I mean, everyone will adjust what they need particularly. Like here.
Even though you're unfamiliar with the music, right?
Yeah. That's right, yeah, we have to listen and do as we hear, so it's a very instant thing.
На все 5 пальчиков. Полупальчики туда тоже. Во-во-во. Давайте фондю сделаем.
You can see the dancers taking off their clothes as they get warm, taking off the warm-up things. That happens every day.
Do you have a dress code?
No, just anything that's comfortable to move in. And we like to wear layers usually, so that as you do build up heat from working, you can appropriately take off the layers so that you regulate your body temperature basically and don't overheat.
Right.
Well, look at Yana's beautiful arabesque. She's still a wonderful dancer herself, you know. She's becoming a teacher in the company, which is also a beautiful dancer in her own right, which is nice because it means she can pass on her own knowledge and her own talent to the younger generation. And you can see how she still has her beautiful lines and beautiful legs and everything she has as a dancer herself.
Yana is known as the queen of variations.
Yeah, she does fantastic solos. She's always an accurate and beautiful dancer.
It's not very often that a good dancer is a great teacher as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You know, it doesn't go hand in hand. You know, there can be great teachers who it turns out that they actually weren't themselves great dancers, but they understand and they have a special ability to pass on, to teach knowledge and to explain things really well. But then obviously there are also teachers who are themselves great dancers and they can share their own experiences. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily take a great dancer to be a great teacher. It's yeah, they don't go hand in hand at all. It's a special talent somehow to be a teacher, I think.
Absolutely. So the teacher is correcting you during the exercise as well?
Yeah, the teacher will cast their eyes over the dancers during the exercise, and yeah, as you can hear, Yana's giving corrections, saying various tips to make sure everything is in the right place, because we feel, but often we can't see. Maybe the mirror's not there today on stage. There's no mirror, of course. We can't see what we're doing. So if what we're feeling doesn't line up with what looks good, then the teacher will tell us, and that's very helpful. We're very grateful for that help.
Oh, that's a great observation. That normally a class is with a room with a mirror, with mirrors, and right now it's not. And is it harder for you?
You know, I actually prefer to dance class without a mirror. I find it distracting sometimes. I think it's nice to have the opportunity just to feel and to let the teacher correct you, as I was saying, if it doesn't look good, of course. But yes, usually we have a mirror in the studios where we take class.
Отдельно откроем. И раз, и два. И два ронда. С плие, деми-ронд. И два ронда. С плие, деми-ронд. И два ронда. 3 в плие. Турчик со второй. Открыли. Дубль-ронд. И все обратно. 2, демиронт. 2, с демиронт. 2, 3 в плие.
I love this view of the theatre from the top of the top balcony. It's a wonderful view. I went up there when I first joined the company. I went up there to watch Shirley with my sister, and when she came to visit me, and we sat up there at the very top. We looked down on this enormous auditorium with this beautiful gold everywhere, and it was just extraordinary. I remember it like it was yesterday.
We're going to have Shirley very soon, by the way. Yeah, October 23rd, I believe.
That's correct, yeah. It's a really interesting ballet, because before I came to the Mariinsky, I hadn't even heard about Shirley. I never knew about it before. But it's a really beautiful piece. Very, really interesting piece to watch, because it's not like most ballets. It's not like Swan Lake or Giselle or something classical. It's a real mix. Which to say about the music for Yana teaching class here, because that was cut before, right? So we're very lucky to have live music in class.
Do you always have live music in class?
Yes, yeah, we do. It's a wonderful provision, actually, because we have wonderful pianists who not only play great music, but they watch us, they feel our tempos, they feel what we're doing, and they play for us. It's a really nice thing to have live music in class. Because we do live performances with live music, and to have our rehearsals with live piano music, it's really great, because it means the teacher can focus on you, and the music's taken care of, and the teacher can talk to the pianist, ask for faster tempo, slower tempo, or particular accents in the music that we're meant to listen to and use, which is important.
That's great.
Дубль фраппе, птибатман. И раз, и два. С сокращенной стопой флекс. Вперед, назад, в сторону, поднялись на полупальчики. И 3 фраппе, томбе, купе. И птибатман.
What is a frappe? I thought it was a drink.
Go to Starbucks, ask for a frappe, and they won't give you this. It means to strike, and the idea is to strike the floor with your foot, or strike the air. Depends what kind of frappe you're doing. An petit battement like this, it's where you wrap your foot around the ankle bone and you change the heel from the front to the back. And it's a very fast and active.
Vika threw something out?
Yeah, she's stripping off her warm-up clothes and throwing them into the wings.
There must be some fans waiting. It's getting faster.
Yes, so the class is picking up pace now, more dynamic and more complicated.
Oh, Victoria is gorgeous.
Always.
As always.
Сторону, вытянулись. Музыкально. Ага. И птибатман. Меняем.
Is there such a thing as an exercise for male dancers and an exercise for female dancers, or you all do the same things?
The major difference will come later in the allegro. Men's allegro is usually slower, bigger than women's allegro. But of course there are women who can do both. Vika has a wonderful jump, she can do fantastic allegro. Katya as well, you can see to the left. So, yeah, I mean, girls don't do double tours, for instance. So you'll have, at the end of class, the men will finish with usually double tours or grand pirouettes, which the women don't do.
Yana is telling that frappe is a very big strike, not just something you do.
Yeah.
Frappe, udar. She's praising Vika at the moment. So she's keeping an eye on everybody.
Yes. A teacher has to have, I think, a vision for the whole class.
How many people are usually in the class?
That's a very good question. Usually, many more than you can see today. So this is a select group just for filming this this class especially on the stage. But usually, we have ballet class in the studios at the theatre, which are not very large and usually quite cramped for class, which is cozy. So we'd have at least around 40 people in class, 40 or 50.
Well, now because of the pandemic, obviously there are new rules as well, right?
Well, there were last year. Now we're back to doing class with everyone all together. And yeah, finding bar space is the hardest thing.
All right. Do you have a spot, each of you, like a favorite spot that you go to?
I have favourite spots, but it's first come, first serve, so whoever gets there first gets the
Is there a
space.
queue, line to enter the studio?
No.
I'm the first?
No, it's just everyone goes in when they're ready and finds a space, and eventually it fills up before the class begins. So as you can see here, the girls are showing adagio. We all do adagio, but it's women who tend to be more talented and more able with the adagio than the men. Men excel in the jumps, and women excel in the adagio exercises, as you can see here. But it's still very important for both sexes to execute all the exercises together, because it strengthens our muscles, keeps us flexible, keeps us strong, and it's benefits for both male dancers and ballerinas for every combination.
Adagio must be the most difficult, as most exercises
It
go.
depends on the person. Some people find adagio really easy. Some people find it really hard. It just depends on the particular dancer. Physique and physical build, width of the hips, width of the body, stability, the balance of where your weight is when you have your leg up in the air, and how stable you are on your supporting leg.
What's going on here?
So Yana is explaining how correct to execute this step. She made a difficult fouette, changing sides on the bar, which is quite advanced, but it means letting go of the bar for a second while you change sides. And she's explaining not to try and grab the second hand onto the bar before you've arrived, because it looks ugly, so you have to try and make it look beautiful. Correcting Philip's head. See, he did it well.
Yeah. Looking gorgeous as always.
Yeah.
Great hair, everything.
Oh, Philip's a fantastic dancer. He's a truly amazing artist.
I think that he embodies the Petersburg style.
He does. He danced last night in Giselle over in Mariinsky 3 in the gala I was dancing in too, and he did a wonderful job. Really beautiful.
Правильно. Молодцы. Поднимаем ножку, поднимаем. И такое же высокое пассе. Надо чуть-чуть разойтись, ребята, чтобы атман из фуэте поворот.
Getting his magic fingers. He does wonderful music for us.
Батмана. Пассе партер в плие, фуэте. И
More
по
fouettes.
одному крестом.
What is fouette?
It's where, I'll show you in a second when she does it. Until you change sides, basically. That's a fouette. Girls do fouettes by themselves in the centre, which is the most famous kind of fouette, where they do pirouettes and then do fouette with the leg.
Like in the Khiteeva.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Swan Lake, in Don Quixote, and many of the big classics. But a fouette can be that as well, where you change sides.
И задней ногой целый крест. И обратно. Два назад. В плие поворот.
Задняя нога. I always love this about dancing, that you have a back leg and a front leg. What is that about?
Yeah, we have our supporting leg, our working leg, our back leg, our front leg. It's just about where you're standing, what you're doing. Croisé, effacé, en face. Whether you're facing the corner, facing the open corner, facing the front. It all depends on which leg is front. If your right leg is in front and you're facing the left corner, it means you're standing croisé, because your front leg is crossed.
Right.
And so yeah, we take all this for granted, and it's been drilled into us since being children. From being 10, 11 years old, we've been doing this every day, and we get so used to knowing which is our
sounds
sporting
natural,
leg.
yeah?
Yeah, it becomes like a language. You suddenly can speak.
Professional slang.
Yeah.
Ballet dancers.
И когда по одному крестом тоже Жень, бедра стоят, а нога отдельно бросается хорошо.
That's a great correction. So just saying to keep your hips quiet and still while you're throwing your legs so you don't disturb your body. And that's very important. You can see Masha Iliushkina here showing it perfectly. You throw your leg, strong legs but quiet hips.
Молодцы.
Молодец in Russian means good job.
Yeah.
Do you hear that a lot in class?
Давайте еще назад побросаем
Sometimes.
батмана. Лицом к палке. И 4 батмана. 4. И растянулись.
So I think Yana
Хорошо.
realizes that the class is quite challenging.
4 батмана.
Yeah.
И растянулись. Еще 4 батмана. 4 погнулись. Парам-парам-папам. И 4 погнулись. Как вам удобнее? Давайте через первый, но только тогда надо чуть-чуть, Ген, спокойнее, а вы чуть быстрее. Давайте через первый, так, чтобы побросать хорошенько. Пожалуйста, Геннадий.
So there's a question of how to do this particular step, and she said, how is it comfortable for you? So the teachers often do allow you to do what suits you personally, and that's always nice because everyone's different, One size doesn't always fit all. So it's nice to be able to do what fits your body better.
But I reckon that happens only in class.
Yes, I mean, to a degree it can be done in the repertoire as well. It depends if that's allowed by the particular choreographer. If it's an old ballet, maybe there's scope for different versions. It's up to the coach of the dancer in question to work with that dancer and find the best route to make a version of the ballet which is accurate but also fits the dancer in question. So yes, once bar is finished, the dancers will always carry the bars out to the side and clear the space for center practice to begin.
Oh, the exciting part.
Getting more advanced. So this is the view we have every day on stage, which is one of my favorite views. I always take a moment in shows on this historical stage. If I've done a solo or done a bit and then I'm still on the stage but not dancing, maybe there are times where the ballerina's doing her part, but you're still there on stage. I take a moment just to look out at the auditorium and take it in because it's such a view. It's such a beautiful place. I mean, look at this. The Tsar's box in front of you, the glow of the gold. It's quite a stunning place to be. And for the ballet class, it's very unusual. We don't do class there very often. So it's quite special.
Can you spot people in the auditorium when you look during the performance?
Those who are close to the stage, we have some boxes on the sides called the Duke's box, I believe, one on either side. In fact, the one on stage right, which we call ladies' side, that box apparently was where the Tsar used to sit. He wasn't in the Tsar's box, because in that box, in the Duke's box there where he would sit, there was a secret door which goes from that Duke's box into the backstage area for easy access to the backstage, which he would use. So from this view, the box to the right. And those boxes today are used for the guests and friends of the dancers who are performing.
Oh, right.
So when we do a show, we get given a few tickets for our friends, and those friends will be sat in those boxes there. So actually, you can see them actually, they're very close to you.
Oh, right. Are they waving during performance? Or they scream, well done?
Not during the show, thankfully, but it's nice to know that they're there. Sometimes you can see their faces because they're so close to you.
That is Victoria Tereshkina, our principal dancer, or prima, and Anastasia Nuikina, as far as I understand, right?
Yeah.
Anastasia Smirnova, who's new to the company.
Yes, she's joined
this season.
this season.
Yeah, and Anastasia Lukina. Oh, a lot
Three
of
Anastasias.
three Anastasia and Victoria.
And Becca. Yeah.
Выровнялись и ранверсе. Бакарте. 2 ручки, Настя. Падеборе, препарасьон. И 6-е пардебра. Вздохнули.
May, Nagahisa and Masha joining? Or are they just doing it on their own?
No, they're doing it too.
Oh, all together.
They're standing a bit further to the side.
Генна. Аттитюд провели. И еще у нас есть фуэте. Нет, еще постоим. Открытая рука, Викуль. И закрылись с левой ноги. И по полу тандю. Мышка по полу.
This is one of the longest adagios I've seen at the Mariinsky. Usually it's not quite this long, but I guess especially for this class it's been created.
Стоим. Выровнялись и заодно сильно корпус. Бекарте. И по деборе.
We can recognize a few steps from classical ballets, can't we?
Yeah, I mean,
Еще Гена, дальше мы
classical ballet is
продолжаем.
built on this, so they're all in there somewhere.
И стойте в attitude чуть-чуть полупальчики. А вот сейчас алисгон, скок. И заодно поворотик. Ручки открытые.
Female dancers do not wear point shoes on class, do they?
It's their choice. As far as I understand, there are sometimes the girls are given point classes where everyone has to wear point shoes for that particular class. But I think during a general ballet class, the girls sometimes choose to wear point shoes, but usually they don't.
Мужчины, вас все равно видно, выходите.
She says, guys, we can still hear you, come up.
Чуть-чуть живее, да? Гена,
Yeah, we can still see you guys.
пожалуйста.
That's hilarious.
Сейчас тандю по полу.
Is this adagio again?
Yeah,
Под руку,
second group.
красиво.
So, I mean, now we
Are
have
they doing the same? The same
exactly the same combination.
Диабез первый
So
набираем.
the class will be split into two groups to make enough space to fit everyone in the center.
И до
Otherwise, it
четвертого.
would be too cramped.
Стоим. Выровняли корпус. И к ноге согнулись. Раз. Экарте уже открыли. По деборе. Препарасьон, шестое пардебра. С головой вздохнули. Рома, так не надо гнуться. Сейчас два алисгон будет основное. И стоим алисгон. Продолжаем пассе. Турлян в
We can see
attitude.
some bewildered faces.
Стоим в attitude. И сейчас скок. Алисгон. Левой ногой. Фуэте. Правильно. И с левой ноги. Геночка, с левой ноги. Продолжаем.
So next side, she's saying left side, left leg front. So in a similar way that the bar has its own structure of
Красиво, арабеск
of,
набираем. Красиво. Танцуем уже.
both sides, this also in the center, you do both sides, even without the bar. So you'll start with the right leg front, and then again repeat the same thing with the left leg
Вот
front.
сейчас плечи.
And then, in fact, when we were at school, we would do exactly the same thing with the right leg back and the
Oh.
left leg back. So you do the same thing 4 times. So front and then reverse. And that's actually an exercise for your head as well, to try and work out
Absolutely.
the
It's like
reverse.
chess.
It's like chess,
Не
yes.
так сильно, конечно, замахиваться.
Do you play chess?
I do, I love chess.
Полисгон постоять. А вот сейчас турлян. И стоим.
What do you do this for? Just to exercise your body so that you will be prepared to do anything on stage? That like,
Yeah.
from any side?
That's the idea. So that your body's equally balanced, equally strong on both sides. Because every dancer has their favourite side.
I see.
Ты уже сбиваешься.
Roman Malyshev here.
Перегнись.
He's a very talented young dancer in the company who's coming up through the ranks and dancing a lot of solo work now. And he's a beautiful dancer.
Ногой.
He has a real
Давайте
understanding
так
of,
сделаем полегче.
of performance. He's a beautiful
Пассе
dancer.
партер. До стороны демиронт. И нажим.
Yana said, let's make it easier. Let's have a look what easier means at the
И
Mariinsky.
раз, и два, три, четыре.
Good question.
Подождите, я сейчас подумаю.
Let me think.
She's thinking, she's confusing herself.
В плие, потому что мы пойдем в фассе назад. Раз и два.
So you see Vicky using her hands here again to learn the combination. It saves the legs, it's easier to try and repeat it with the hands, just to try and learn it.
Right.
Пальцы. Два.
I think that everybody's doing that. I could see any.
Yeah, it's a general.
May's nodding.
Пируэт со второй. Два тандю. Пассе партер до стороны.
I see again May and Masha. Nastya is using her feet
Yeah.
to mimic these steps.
Yeah.
Пам-пам. Два пике. Так, чтобы я вас не запутала. И два тандю вперед. Пассе партер до стороны. Вперед, назад, вперед, плие. И два тандю в плие, пассе партер. И назад, Пам-пам, пам-пам. Закрыли. И 2 жете, пике, полупальцы. 2 жете, пике, полупальцы. 4 в сторону жете, полупальцы. И тур со второй.
Easy peasy.
Just like that.
Пожалуйста.
So here we have Andrey Yermakov
Пассе
in the
порте.
centre with Vika,
До стороны.
one of our
Вперед
principal
закрываем.
dancers.
3.
Fantastic partner in the company. One of the, I know he's a favourite of a lot of ballerinas for partnering because he's really strong and
На ручку
great actor.
Закрыли руки, жете.
Andrey used to dance with Uliana Lopatkina all the time.
Yes, well, Yana picked him out to the World Ballet to do a lot of work with her when he was very young in a company when I first joined, and he's grown and now he's principal himself. And he's a great person. He's a lovely guy.
Активнее ноги.
He looks very concentrated, very
Yeah,
focused.
he works hard.
Сейчас посмотрели вперед на ручку, закрыли, назад.
There's Iliushkina to the left. She's not long ago danced her debut
Закрыли руки и
in
жете.
Swan Lake and in
Raimonda last season.
Raimonda and all sorts. She's a wonderful talent, a beautiful ballerina, very much in the mould of Lopatkina, in her long arms and long neck and beautiful style.
She does resemble Uliana, I would say,
Yeah,
sometimes.
her Swan Lake was stunning. She's a beautiful ballerina
Yes,
and very, very diligent. She's one of the most diligent and hard-working girls in the whole company, I'd say. I mean, they all are, to be honest.
She's very humble as well.
She is. She's a wonderful, wonderful person.
If you guys have a chance, come to the Mariinsky.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I think that every show is absolutely brilliant, but keep an eye on the young dancers.
Well, yeah, because they're the future of the company.
И закрыли ручки, 2 жете. Стоим.
And here we have some more internationals. To the right here is Camilla Mazzi.
Okay, so Camilla's Italian, isn't she?
Yes, she is, from Turin. And she's also dancing more solo roles these days. She danced last night, the Bluebird, part of in the gala I was dancing in the Mariinsky Theatre, very beautifully. Here she is to the left.
Сейчас к ручке головку, правильно. Сейчас плие и руки закрываем. Сева, молодец. Лицо только свободнее. Не показывай.
Seva, so
She's telling Seva to relax his face.
And-
It's a hard exercise, he's probably concentrating.
yes, Seva's the guy to the left, the blonde guy.
Давайте вперед.
Seva's also another young dancer with
He
the
is,
company.
he's coming up as well. He's dancing solos and he joined the company 2 years ago, I think, was it?
Not long ago, yeah. He's very tall.
He's a very tall guy, so yeah, he'll be a great partner as well one day.
И 2 тура.
Already, in fact, he's dancing lots of
Повернулись.
complicated things. He danced last night,
Балансы.
Parada from Swan Lake,
Сутыню.
Black Parada,
Oh, right.
his,
That's
his
right.
debut, and it was very successful.
И еще 2 тура.
The Firebird a couple of nights
Yes,
ago.
that suits him wonderfully.
Yeah, this
That's,
suit especially,
yes,
the costume.
the costume's wonderful.
Сутыню. Повернулись. 3 стоим. Балансе. Балансе. Сутыню. Препарасьон. 2 фуэте и 2. Мужчины, вы можете вместо вальса сделать шине. Фуэте.
So Yana's telling the men that they can do chaînés
Да?
at the end, which is a different kind of step, just because the girls and boys do different steps sometimes, which just suits them better. So Yana's saying that the men can change the combination slightly.
Андедан. Повернулись. 2 балансе. Сутыню. Повернулись. 2 фуэте. 2.
You see Masha's long
Long arms touching the ceiling almost.
И сейчас не переворачивайтесь. Викуля идеально.
Perfect Vika,
Еще
as
на
always.
ручки.
Perfect, yeah, because always perfect.
Yeah, she's
Сейчас
wonderful.
поворачиваем мышка. Надо было вторым вступить. Сейчас, Геннадий, мы еще не готовы. Очень хорошо. Но может быть, мне кажется, ты совсем, Викуля, осталась вот так, а все-таки я все боялась, чтобы вы не перевернулись в анфас, но сейчас получилось, не довернулись. Угу. Чуть-чуть больше. Девушки, встаньте пониже, чтобы мужчины могли подряд начать. Надюш, еще ниже встаньте, чтобы мы не делали паузу.
That's another trick, telling the first group to start a bit further downstage so the next group can start straight away afterwards, so you don't waste time in the class.
How long is the stage?
How many meters?
How big?
I don't know. That's a good question. Usually when it's a performance, there's scenery on stage, so it's smaller than you can see here. Today it looks a lot bigger because there's no scenery, there's no backdrop. You can see right through to the back, which is actually quite interesting. It's very beautiful, in fact, just by itself. You can see the huge arc at the back here.
Right.
This is where, for those watching, this is where they wheel the scenery onto the stage. It gets wheeled on there through that large arc onto the stage, and if it's being removed, it'll go back through the arc and to the left, down a long passageway onto the street, where the loading lorries are waiting for the scenery.
Yeah. And given that Mariinsky is the repertory theatre, and they must have lots and
tons and tons of scenery. So every day the lorries are parked outside, and the men are outside changing up the lorries and swapping the scenery from the night before to the current repertoire for that day.
It's not very often that you dance the same performance 2 days in a row.
Well, these days, yes. Before, actually, you're right, it wasn't like that. But now, these days, they seem to do usually 2 performances of each ballet that we do now. I think just because of the probably because of the logistics of moving the scenery, it makes more sense to do more than just one show. Before, certainly, we only ever did one show everything. So in a month, you'd have many shows, but every show was different. Whereas now it can be 2 or 3 Le Bayadères, and then 2 or 3 Beauties, and then 2 or 3 Le Parcs.
Never more than 3.
Very, very rarely. Occasionally, if it's Le Bayadère or something, or Swan Lake, it can be 4. But I mean, I've never seen more than 4 at once. And then
I remember some 10 years ago, there was a Mariinsky festival where there were 10 Swan Lakes.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes, I wasn't here at that time, but I heard about
it.
it. And every show was a different cast with an invited guest from a foreign company.
Absolutely.
It was an amazing idea.
And Diana Vishnova danced, and Uliana Lopatkina, Gillian Murphy came from EBT.
Angel Carrera came from
Yes,
EBT.
Angel Carrera danced Katya's debut. Katya Kantaurova, it was her debut.
Wow.
I remember the audience screamed Angel Bravo, like they actually called his name.
Oh, really?
Wow, it was a shock because, people never shout any names.
I think he danced with Vika. I think Tereshkina was dancing with him for that show. Because I think Katya would be too tall for Angel. But
who did she dance with?
I can't remember. It's a good question. I should find out. It's an interesting
Trivia question for the audience. Yeah, if you know the answer, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, it's very important to match the dancers by height as well. It's an interesting fact that
Yeah, absolutely.
certain ballerinas and certain male dancers just can't dance together because of the physicality of the different height difference.
Yeah, Katya's very tall.
She's very tall, and so when she's on point, it's even taller.
Yeah.
And so that's why she needs a strong and tall partner like Andrey Yermakov, who we were talking about before.
Yeah, then it was Vika's debut then. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was Vika's debut, right, exactly. And there was, Vika has one very loyal fan who would always present her with a huge basket of flowers.
Oh, wow.
And I remember he was sitting next to me in the lounge, and he was sitting, Tereshkina, bravo. It was like, wow, very emotional.
Yes, that's a real tradition of Petersburg ballet fans. It's marvellous.
Would you say that there is ballet mania here in St. Petersburg?
I think so. Yeah, there's certainly a culture of ballet mania.
Now what's going on?
So now, Yana's made some more complicated exercises to do with grand battement and pirouettes in grand positions.
Бросок. Вот сейчас голову повернули и стоим туда. Вот только сейчас отвернули. И вот только сейчас с ногой меняем головы.
And here you can see repeat to the second side, to the left. So it's not just one side. Because turning especially, dancers favour one side. I myself am a right turner, so to turn to the left for a right turner, it's usually quite hard. But in class, we try to do it anyway, even if we trip over or fall. I mean, not fall, but you know what I mean. It might not be as smooth, but the idea is it builds strength on the weaker side.
Очень тяжело, Ген, на сцене найтись после
Remember, like
которой
Beckham's left hand,
Foot,
yeah, left foot, right foot.
Exactly.
But both feet are treasures for our dancers.
Golden feet.
И сисон томбе в круазе, и три шанжман. В сторону сисон томбе сотте, сисон томбе вперед, и три шанжман, сисон томбе.
So now we're starting the third part of the class, which is Allegro. Allegro are the jumping exercises, which usually the men really enjoy. We like jumping around.
Jump around.
And even with the jumps, there's a structure of how the jumps begin and what you progress to. So here, Yana is starting with petit allegro, which is the small jumps. Usually they're quite little, not very high off the ground, but it means you start to use your toes and use your calf muscles just to get some height off the ground, but not particularly high, you know, just to warm up your toes and feet. You'll see here.
Легенько так, Геночка.
Here's May Nagihisa doing her beautiful petit allegro.
И сотте. Ничего.
May looks absolutely
Вперед
weightless.
надо было. Назад.
That's because she is weightless.
Сейчас задняя ножка.
She's like a bird.
Назад, правильно. Правильно.
Impeccable Vika as always.
Perfect.
Вперед лучше сделать вот в такую руку, чтобы не одинаково было два раза, а назад, соответственно, да?
So here Jan's changing the arms so there's to get some variations, so not the same arms both times, which is nice.
So you don't get bored.
Yeah, keep it interesting.
Сотте. Чуть-чуть полегче.
After an exercise like this, it feels like you will just want to go home and lie down.
Not yet, there's more to come. This is just the beginning of Allegro. So there's the whole structure of Allegro, starting petit allegro through maybe an échappé, which is where you open the legs in second or fourth, and then we'll go to ensemble exercises, and then jeté, and then it'll progress to medium allegro and grand allegro and double tours, and so that was Seva.
Сейчас задняя.
Oh dear, the boys seem to have gone opposite directions.
Ты просто первый раз неправильно сделал.
They got confused.
Андорандедан страдает. Давайте шапе тоже трамплинная. В четвертую, вторая. Лицом, спиной, лицом по деборе. Сейчас я в какую тоже сторону.
How long is the class usually?
Usually 1 hour here at the Mariinsky. Back in the Royal Ballet when I was there, it was an hour and a quarter, a little bit longer. But here it's 1 hour.
Четвертая, вторая. Лицом.
Do you have any days off when you don't have class?
Well, we're supposed to have 1 day a week off. Officially, according to our contracts, we get Mondays free. But it depends on what's happening on stage, what we're performing. If you have a show on Tuesday, it's hard to take Monday off, of course.
Oh, right.
So you need to be doing rehearsal and training the day before to make sure the show is ready. So it's, you know, often we don't take Mondays off, but it just depends on what's happening in the theatre, really, and for you personally.
And on your day off, you are not allowed to come to class? There is no class scheduled?
Well, the company provide, usually on a Monday, a studio and a pianist.
Oh, right.
Even though there won't be a teacher there, there'll be a pianist. And so the dancers themselves can come to class and take it in turns to set exercises. And so together, a little group will make their own ballet class together.
Вот это, как Игорь Юрьевич любит показывать, не успеть здесь. Леночка, мы готовы?
Do you always take class with the same teacher?
I have my favourite teachers, and it depends what you're used to. So, especially if you're tired, if you've had lots of rehearsals and stuff, it's nice to do a class where you're used to doing, that you know what's going to come next, really. I mean, obviously every class is different, but if I will do the particular coach who I work with do his class, I know what to expect, and I know it'll get me warm, get me ready, and there's no surprises. It's not going to be suddenly very difficult or complicated, you know. So, yeah, I do tend to stick to what I know. That's just creature comfort, I think, by habit.
So a big group of men.
Давайте ассамбле сделаем.
So now the Third Allegro exercise is assemble, which means to assemble. And the idea is to throw one leg and assemble two legs in the air.
So it's interesting that it doesn't really matter that a female teacher can teach both men and women, right?
It doesn't really matter. Usually, the men usually take men's class, and so which is taught by men. But for this class today, we were asked to all do the Yana's class, which is fine. It's great, you know. Often we do the mixed classes or the female teacher's class. But usually in the structure of the classes, the men would do men's class with the male teacher, and likewise the women would do a female class with the
and they tackle
teacher.
the special features, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you can see now it's picking up pace, getting a little bit higher off the ground, a little bit faster.
Even Yana is out of breath.
Yeah, she's doing it too. She's working hard. She's showing, demonstrating, and correcting.
So if you guys think that a ballet class is an easy thing, then think again.
Then try it.
Yeah, and try. Well, actually, I think that our audience can try, and especially if you're familiar with the bar and some exercises, you can do that. Try it in your studio.
Yeah.
И корпус перевели. Правильно. Да, в идеале было Влад с двух ног сразу. Ассамбле, глиссад, ассамбле. Жете. Гризе.
Even Yana uses the hands to demonstrate.
Right, yeah.
Готовы?
So here's Roma and Seva.
Roman Oleshev and Vsevolod Maevsky, the young Mariinsky dancers, and Mikhail Barkey-Jicha on the right.
Бризе. Корпус перевели. Вторые сразу.
What about corps de ballet? Do they have class as well?
Oh yes, of course, absolutely.
Because in the 19th century, corps de ballet did not have class. Rehearsals were enough. And
no, today certainly the corps de ballet have class. Absolutely. Every day.
I remember reading when Khiteeva decided that corps de ballet should go on point, and they would be like, "What? We're not supposed to. We haven't been trained for that."
К ноге корпус, от ноги и поменяли.
I keep marveling at this, we see a group of dancers, everybody's wearing some different outfit. I thought that, the wow effect would be due to some costumes on stage. But in fact, we see the class, everybody is wearing their own rags, whatever, and it's still absolutely impressive.
Yeah. What's a nice observation about Russian ballet particularly, you can hear Yana just before now was giving corrections about the angle of the body, and how she's showing now. You can see how she's showing how body changes and how the angle of the body changes, and that's, I think, a real trait of Russian ballet particularly, of where the epaulement is and where the body moves and changes. It's quite different to what I learnt back in London, and I think it's quite a trait of Russian ballet particularly. But you can see how everyone does it so uniformly. When you just saw the dancers doing the assembly, the exercise together just then, you can see how they were all doing exactly the same angle of their upper bodies, and I think that's from the schooling here.
Наверх начинаем, и как нога идет, так и идет. Да? Такой тоже легкий, трамплинный, не засиживаемся.
Don't stay long, she says.
Еще чуть-чуть, Гена. Чуть-чуть живее.
So she's telling the pianist, again, to make it a bit more lively, a little bit faster. If it's faster for this exercise, it's lighter. If it's slower, it's heavier for the muscles. She She wants light jumps, light, quick jumps, which make it nice and light. And the effect.
Сейчас, Ген, извините. Ребят, идея такова.
Here's the idea, says Yana.
Глиссанд, кабриоль, шаг, кабриоль, а все заодно. Глиссанд, кабриоль, продолжаем, кабриоль, продолжаем,
Oh my God.
кабриоль.
Having to continue all together and not stop, so it
Одно из
doesn't
другого трамплин не теряем.
look stuck. She wants it to be smooth.
It's incredible how much work is involved in looking light as a feather.
That's exactly true. You know, to make it look easy is one of the hardest things.
Right.
Голову
You know, not to look tense, because sometimes you have this tense neck or something.
Absolutely.
And we can see that the dancers are working really, really hard to make it look effortless.
Yes.
Whereas in fact, there's so much effort.
True.
Не знаю, прям, что с вами делать.
I don't know what to do with you, she says. Is she disappointed?
No, I think she's just saying she knows it's hard, but she's trying to get across her
Yes,
point.
of course. Yeah.
Репрессион для мужчин. Кабриоль назад.
So for the men, big cabriole.
Покурю, жете, покурю. Ассамбле, томбе, жете, антурнан, и сисон уверт, и сисон томбе, антурнан. Полупальцы, антершассис, препарасьон, глиссат, кабриоль назад, препарасьон, покурю, жете, покурю, ассамбле, и сразу жете, антурнан, и сисон томбе, антурнан.
I gather this is enough for you to keep fit.
Well, actually, it's
Да,
keeping fit.
тоже все как удобно.
Class, of course, is a big part of that, but there's a lot more to do on top of that.
Полупальцы,
Going to the gym,
you?
doing. I use the weights, particularly for muscle strength.
хороши.
Before the gyms were, or before after gym in the theatre was locked because of COVID, I would use the bike there a lot for stamina, because I find cycling very,
И томбе.
spinning on that velocipede make it.
Молодец, Шамочка.
I find it very effective for maintaining stamina and strength for shows, because it really targets the thigh muscles particularly, which we need for jumping for the male variations. So that's also extremely helpful.
Молодцы, девушки. Сейчас кабриоль хороший. Правильно. Покурю небольшой, не больше ЖТ покурю. Молодцы.
On the left, this is a director's lounge.
Yes.
Is this where Yuri Valerьevich usually sits?
Yes, usually he sits right in the
А
corner.
уже после кабриоля
Well, it depends. Some shows I believe he
боятся
sits in the
кабриоль
centre.
сделать.
He brings in a chair. Or other times you'll see here he sits in the lower box
Геннадий, у
here
нас
in the
девушки
corner.
хорошо прыгают.
And
Сейчас
from there
спокойнее.
he has a good view to see the dancers. He's very good at watching and giving corrections after the show and telling us
Молодцы.
how to improve and what to do better. He's very observant.
Небольшое ЖТ большое.
He watches nearly every
Чуть-чуть
show.
Yes, it's
замедлить.
quite an amazing thing.
Молодцы.
It's a very rare thing when we do not see him in this
Yeah.
lounge. That
Yeah.
means that something extraordinary happened.
True.
Никуля большой покурю. Влада, ногу бросай. Во, молодец.
Молодец, you see again,
Бросай
Yana
ногу,
is happy.
забирайся.
That's good job.
Умнички.
Russian school is notorious for not being very
Ножку
generous
еще
with
большим,
praise.
Анастасия. Ногу швыряем.
Yeah, that's true.
Молодец, Настя. Толкаемся совсем не выворотно в этом ракурсе. Хорошо, Машка. Молодцы, девушки.
So Maria Bulanova on the left.
Покорю набираем и
And
с выворотной по
is this
возможности
Camilla?
ножки толкаемся.
That's Masha Bulanova.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Camilla Mazzi with her. Sever and Misha. So You can hear how Yana is stretching the music to make it a bit longer, to give the boys more time to jump than the girls, because obviously the boys jump higher.
Чуть-чуть есть голова села.
So Yana's correcting Seva's head position.
И прыжок ушел. О, давайте сделаем по диагонали просто. Экарте, пам-парам-пам, подыша, через глиссад и все подряд. Один, второй, третий, четвертый.
Even from this angle, you can see the rake of the stage, right?
Yes.
So the stage, the Mariinsky 1 stage has a rake, which means it slopes towards the audience. It's not flat. If you were to put a coin at the top of the stage, it would roll down into the orchestra pit. I personally don't like the rake. I think it's quite complicated to dance on because it changes your balance. I like a flat stage, just for simple physics of being standing on your center of axis of center of gravity. But the rake is useful for some things. Jumps especially, it's great for jumping because going down stage like the girls are showing now, you land a little bit lower than you took off from because of the rake at the stage. So it makes you feel like you're flying a little bit more. It helps the jumps. But for turns, it's quite difficult.
Beautiful jumps.
Yeah, lovely. Our girls have
Are
great
the studios raked as well?
In Mariinsky 1, they are. In Mariinsky 2, they're flat. And that can create other problems when we have shows in Mariinsky 2, for instance, which is flat, and then we rehearse in Mariinsky 1, which is raked, and then in the evening you turn up on the stage and it's...
Oh God.
That
You're
can
likely
be,
to
that
lose
can
your
be quite
balance.
complicated. Some people have different issues with that. For me personally, I found it quite difficult, but some people don't find it a bother at all. That's good for them.
What about Vaganova studio? Is it the same?
They're raked. No, again, some of them are flat actually. Some of them are raked. Yeah, great correction here. She's telling them to move their corpus, the upper body out the way to give space for the leg. You can see how she's demonstrating. The body's out the way, there's space for the leg to go up. If the body's in the way, it restricts the leg.
Oh, that's great.
A great correction.
Great insight, yeah. Which means that you keep learning throughout life.
Absolutely, you should never stop learning. You know, we've never come to a place where you can say you've know everything. You're always learning. As an artist, as dancers, always things to learn. You can always grow in other areas.
Camilla, сейчас все не вот так, а вот так. Дайте место ноге. Только к ноге голова.
This is Camilla jumping now, who Yana told to give more space for her leg to. And now, and Masha Iliushkina doing beautiful jeté.
Правильно.
Masha Bulanova here has a huge jump. Her jump is famous amongst the dancers of being really, really huge. She's really talented.
Мишка, ты когда прыгаешь, заднюю ногу поднимаешь, ты переднюю-то не бросай, а тоже ее.
So Yana's telling Misha that he's jumping by, he's restricting his own jump by, he said, get his weight in the right place to open both of his legs. Again, good corrections. This is really helpful for us all to learn.
This is also about physics, isn't it?
Yeah, ballet is all about physics. In fact, our director, Yuri Khiteeva, he understands physics for dancers fantastically. One of the best coaches I've ever worked with in terms of physics. He understands physicality of body, position and placement so well. He always gives really fantastic corrections about physics. If things aren't working, he'll boil it down to the physical base of why it's not working. A bone's in the wrong place, or the body's not square in a particular way, and he explains it really well. So here's Misha dancing. He's a great turner, Mish. Yes.
Looks like Raymond, this, pas de cadre.
Yeah, that was from Paquita, actually, this that combination. It's done in the second act of our version of Paquita anyway, in the pas de trois.
Who's got some rest? He's asking Yana.
So Malishov.
Хочется все-таки прыгнуть не совсем ползком.
She said, jump, don't crawl.
Actually, it was a very nice jump, I thought. Did a good job.
You guys might have recognized the music.
Bayaderka.
Do you like this show?
I do, it's wonderful. It's fantastic ballet. Very passionate. I think it's one of classical ballet's best. So now we've finished Allegro, and Yana's going to show a port de bras just to, in effect, a kind of a cool down to finish off the class, because we've all worked hard and done all the exercises, and now it's time just to breathe, get oxygen back into the muscles, and do something a little more static with breathing and just stationary, basically, to finish off the class with something a little bit easier and a few balances which aren't so easy.
So you do not do any shavasana after that?
Anyway?
You know, in yoga, they have this shavasana when you just
Right.
spread yourself on the floor.
Right. That's this.
The analog.
Yeah.
Do you do a cool down after a show?
No, usually. You know, that we should, actually, you're absolutely right. Theoretically, that would be a very good idea. But there's such excitement after the show, and, you know, you finished the show, you got the curtain calls to take like 10 minutes, probably 15 minutes. Then coaches come to you, give you corrections, talk through the ballet, it's another 10, 15 minutes. Half an hour later, and the ballet's finished, you've already got a cold because you've been standing around doing bows and talking, so...
So you bows at your cool down?
I suppose so, sort of.
It's a hint to the audience, guys, just the
Oh
longer
no,
you
we love our
No,
curtain
no.
calls. It's actually like the reward for doing a difficult and long performance, having the warmth from the audience be given back to you. It's really nice.
Do you count how many times they open the curtain?
Sometimes, you know, just not specific, not particularly for any reason. It's just occasionally like, oh, we've already had, you know, 8, 9 curtain calls. I remember with Vika once, we danced, I think we had Ramonda together, and we counted 9 curtain calls. 9. I mean, for me that was a record. I mean, of course a Vika, of course, but to be her partner for that show meant I could go on there as well, and that was...
But you both earned it.
Yeah, well, together, of course. It's our teamwork. But,
Teamwork, obviously.
But
team
yeah, that was
effort.
wonderful.
Мы закончили урок. Спасибо большое, что были с нами. До свидания.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching this class and got some insights into class at the Mariinsky Theatre.
Yeah, it was really insightful and really beautiful. So we'll see you later at the public talk of the young dancers, and you will see a few dancers that you have just seen here, and they'll be talking about the future of ballet with Yuri Fateev. Join in, and later in the evening we have beautiful surprise for you. 4 acts of wonderful ballets like the Mariinsky Gems. Well, join in and see you around. Thank you.
Bye-bye.